studios all faced a common courtyard with a basketball hoop there. And so you'd be out in the courtyard. Dave Chappelle did a very famous skit of playing basketball with Prince.
Oh, wow.
Get involved or something like that. That playing basketball with Prince is what would happen in that courtyard.
Oh, wow.
While he would be waiting for me to edit or finish something. And so sometimes you'd be out in that courtyard while he was doing vocals, while Prince was doing vocals with the door shut, because he did vocals all by himself. And someone would walk out of Studio 1 or Studio 2 and they'd say, "Hey, can you come and be part of the group vocals?" And you go, "Okay." And you just go in and you stand around the microphone and you sing. Cool. It's a fairly common, it's a fairly common request in recording studios. Like, hey, let's get some people in here.
Well, that's very cool.
Going off that the Discogs list, there was one that I noticed that kind of caught my attention, and that was the Instant Karma project, the tribute to John Lennon. What was your part in that process, in that album?
I don't remember it. Discogs has some errors in there too. And then there's also the other possibility that sometimes you'll do a track and not finish it, move on to other things. The artist will then take that basic track, finish it with a different artist, maybe. Like, for example, David Byrne did a record with Selena Gomez, and I'm credited on there. I never worked with Selena Gomez. I was not in the studio with her, but I was in the studio with David Byrne when we did that track. So people will tell me, you did this song with Carmen Electra. Prince thing. I had done the basic track as the engineer, so he kindly credited me, but it was finished after I left. So tell me, what was the song, the John Lennon?
Well, it was a whole bunch of different songs. It doesn't say which song that you're listed as contributing to, but I know that Barenaked Ladies contributed to that, so I didn't know if it was part of that. They did Oh Yoko.
Okay, well, no, I didn't work on that song, but it might have been something. And then sometimes this also happens. Remember, now I'm talking about memories that are 25, 30 years old. But sometimes you'll be in the middle of a record. The manager will contact the band and say, "Hey, guys, there's this tribute thing. Can you take half a day? Can you take just half a day and bang out a song really fast for me? And we'll send it to somebody. We'll let somebody mix it. Can you do something like that?" And you go, "Okay." And you knock it out. You don't worry about contracts or things like that. Often it's for charity. So you knock it out and off the tape goes and you don't worry about it. So it could have been something like that. I either did it or I didn't, but I've done it.
That's as fair as answer like we can get for that.
I'm going to interrupt you and bring us back to Barenaked Ladies.
I was about to, but you do it. Please.
Speaking of Barenaked Ladies specifically, what was your most memorable experience from Stunt? I mean, we all know the alcohol story about like how that was recorded and that was their naked track. But like, I'm more wondering, like, are there any other like extremely memorable experiences that you have from that album with them?
There were so many wonderful moments of camaraderie. And as usual with those guys, just laughter and tears. There was this one piercing, dissonant thread of Kevin's illness. He was losing weight and not feeling well. And he had been to the doctor, but he didn't have a diagnosis yet. And there was this constant worry that something's going on with him and we don't know what it is. On top of that, we had Stephen, who was in great shape, except that his grandmother had just passed away, and he had to leave us and fly home, and so there was unhappiness there. But on top of that, there was just this general feeling of optimism and excitement and joy. So it really was an album of joy and pain. There were just so many ridiculously funny moments. I mean, those guys they will not let up. With the amount of laughing that you do when you're with them is just ridiculous. We moved very, very quickly. I only had 3 weeks to work with them, and then I had another project. So
not 1 week? Sorry, man.
3 weeks of working pretty nonstop. I don't think we took a day off. I was very happy there at Arlen Studios, and I liked the little cabin where they had me staying, which was right next to the studio. But the guys were in a motel up the street, and they didn't particularly like this motel. So it's okay. They weren't spending much time there. Most of the time we were in the studio. So the memories are, when I think of memories, it's just little flashes of funny things, mostly of laughing. I remember this was so stupid, but
those are always the best things to remember.
So we had a bowl of these percussion instruments, which are just shakers, and they were shaped and made to look like fruit, but they weren't fruit. They were plastic. Pick them up, and there's the apple and the orange, and there's the banana, and right. So we had this bowl of fruit. And Tyler was going to play a percussion track. And Ed thought it would be really funny to put a real piece of fruit in there. So Ed and I are in the control room. And Tyler's on the other side of the glass. And he's playing the banana or something like that. And Ed says to him on the talkback, play the apple. I think the banana is too high-pitched. Go for the apple. Ed reaches over and he grabs the apple and picks it up and shakes it in front of the mic. But what was funny was Tyler's reaction. It wasn't a very funny joke, but Tyler pretended like it was hysterical, which made it so funny because it wasn't funny. It was just stupid, and Tyler just made it hysterical. Moments like that were just absolutely great. I remember another moment that always stuck with me was Ed on the phone with it might have been the label. I don't think it was the manager. I don't think it was Terry McBride. I think he was on the phone with the label. But the label wanted to do a very expensive video, $250,000. And Ed,
wow,
yeah, very expensive. And Ed, being a young man at the time, was so brilliant on that phone call. And he's saying to them, and he's laughing as he's saying it, but he's saying no. He said, I have a family. I have a young family. I can't afford to spend $250,000 on a video. We're just not doing it. It's a non-starter. It's not going to happen. That's my money and the band's money and our children's money that you're spending, and we're not going to do it. And I don't remember what I was doing. I was setting something up, so I wasn't far from him, and I got to hear the bulk of this conversation. I was so impressed. He had the same ability that Prince had and that Tommy Jordan from Geggy had. Of being able to be a businessman without compromising any of his artistic integrity. I remember moments like that impressed me so much about them.
Yeah, thank
you so much for sharing that with us. Yeah, that's really cool. Not to make you choose between your children, but do you have a particularly favorite song off of Stunt?
Oh, I think Stephen knows that it's my favorite, but it's Call and Answer.
Oh, nice, yeah.
When Stephen came into town with Craig Northey just recently, a few months ago, he dedicated that one to me and played it.
Aww, that's so sweet.
So happy to hear it. I love the song. Stephen Page, that voice, those melodies, lyrics, he just wipes me out. And they gave me great freedom with that song. Great freedom. I mean, it was written, and the beauty of it is in the writing, and of course in the performances. But they allowed me to chop up that second chorus and to end it a little bit sooner and go into that solo with that nice chord change that Kevin puts on piano. They let me have my way with it. I love it very, very much.
Thank you.
So, you haven't met Michelle. She is our other co-host. She wasn't able to make it tonight for work reasons, unfortunately. But she had written some questions, so I hope you don't mind if we throw a few this way. I don't have any big lead-ins or anything, so I just have her questions.
Lightning round.
Lightning round, that's right. What was your favorite song to work on from any artist?
Good question.
I don't know that I'd have a favorite. There is one, though, that kind of stands out. The artist was Jeff Black on Arista Austin at that time. We did the Jeff Black album at the Pedernales, Willie Nelson's other studio, this big studio out there in Texas. The band was the band Wilco minus Jeff Tweedy. So it was the original Wilco. It was Kenny Ray Coomer on drums, and John Sturrett on bass, and the late, great Jay Bennett on guitar. And then we had the man, Greg Wells from Canada on piano, and Jeff Black, singer-songwriter. And we did a song that was the title track on the album. It was called Birmingham Road. And those guys were so brilliant, and it came out so well, that afterward, we just didn't want to go home. We came back into the control room, and this is not uncommon when you sit around after you've had a good day. You might have a beer, and then you say, well, good night, everybody. We didn't want to leave. We all sat around, and we drank beer, and some of the guys were smoking joints, and we'd be listening, and we'd be talking about music, and every once in a while, Jay Bennett would just hold up his beer, and he'd go, play it again. And to sit there and listen to this 6-minute song and just hear it over and over and over again and love it. I still get that feeling when I listen to that song. The lyrics are brilliant. The performances are brilliant. Boy, it just gets me every time. Just absolutely loved it. That's as good as it gets in the studio.
Fantastic answer. And yeah, as a creative person who has friends who are creative people, I know how hard creative people can be on their own work so frequently. So when you finally feel like you nailed something and you hear it and you're just like, wow, that's really beautiful. It's such a powerful experience, I think, to be able to just really sit inside of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Most of the time we walk out with great doubt.
Yeah.
Maybe we got it. Maybe we got it. And that is true of Prince. I know for sure it's true of most people. Maybe we got it. But there are just those moments. Sometimes you realize,
yeah,
I don't even want to pass judgment on this.
Yeah.
Maybe yes, no, maybe doesn't matter. This feels so good.
What a feeling.
Those rare moments.
So her next question was, what was the most difficult song you ever worked on, any artist?
Aside from Moby Dick.
There were songs that were time-consuming, but ultimately turned out all right. I'm thinking of You Got the Look with Prince. That took many more days than what he normally took to make a record. Certainly thinking of work with Gegita that involved so much experimentation. Whoever You Are, their hit single, went through quite a few different permutations before we finally agreed on it. We spent a lot of time massaging that record, but the outcome turned out. We were happy with how it turned out. In contrast, there are records, I won't name the artist, but there are records I've worked on where the artist was dropped from the label and the record was never released. And that is difficult for the reason, like, you're making it with this cloud hanging over your head. You're making it afraid that, I don't think the label's going to like this, and you have this premonition that, this isn't going to fly. Those are uncomfortable, even though artistically they might be satisfying. It just doesn't feel good. And then there was only one, I'm happy to say, artist I worked with. Again, I won't name her, but she was so difficult to work with because she didn't trust me. And it turned out she hired me only because I'm a woman. Nobody else has hired me just for my gender. They hired me because they like the work I do. But this person didn't want to work with men and hired me only for that reason, and she didn't trust me. And that was, we never did finish the record together. It was terrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of artists that you didn't work well with, are there any current artists that if you were to go back into doing producing or mixing that you would want to work with?
Oh, it's going to sound like I'm just, totally full of myself because I'm naming some artists up here at the top. But if, dreams can come true, I've recently just learned how great Bob Dylan is. And the albums that he does of these American standards, these jazz covers that he's doing, he's uncovering them, not discovering them. But, boy, just to be in the room with him.
I know, yeah.
To watch Bob work.
What a talent.
The hero of mine, of course, is Brian Wilson. Just to be in the room, to watch him work, to have anything to do with what he's doing. It would be beyond thrilling. I also am a huge fan of Lana Del Rey. I love Lana.
Oh, she's a fantastic artist.
Oh,
I love Lana.
what a great lyric writer. My friend Rick Knowles out there in Los Angeles has worked with her quite a bit, and he tells
Nice.
she's just as brilliant as you think she is.
I'll bet.